Hey, what's good? Thanks for clicking on another Pay Me No Mind TV talk video. I'm the host of the Pay Me No Mind podcast and Bite Down Boxing, or the Bite Down Boxing podcast with R.L. Woodson. Getting into some entertainment. Try to keep these as quick as possible. I was just doing a counterpoint or counterpart weekly recap, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw on True Detective now that that's kind of cooking a little bit better. But Counterpart, I was doing those more on a weekly basis. So let's start with Counterpart. The most recent Counterpart was In From the Cold, and as I've mentioned, this season is somewhat taking it's been a little bit more pedestrian. It's kind of dropped down a level for me as far as being must see TV. Like I'm sitting on the couch, waiting for it on Sunday night. Now it's just kind of, I can with football season ending, or concluding, I can just kind of catch it when I catch it. You know, based on us having on demand now. If I got something else going on and we go to eat, I really can come back and watch Counterpart just based on this season's arc. So just looking at imdb.com, In From the Cold, to sum it up, their synopsis for this episode was: Howard Prime and Emily work together to figure out Indigo's plans. Claire and Quell consider their future, and Howard must face the truth about his wife. I guess the one interesting thing here, and I might be wrong on this, but their daughter is Howard came into this episode being shot after an altercation with Ian and the other brother from kind of an intermediary for for management. And so Howard came into this episode shot, and their daughter had to come and help Howard and Emily. And so this isn't the same daughter that they showed earlier in the series, is it? I might have missed that one, and I guess I could have double checked it here. But I thought like Howard was struggling with why she was calling him. She was calling him father. So I thought that was a different daughter, but maybe not, because I'm only seeing Anna Burton Silk listed. Listed as as the character on this. So maybe it was the same girl, but I don't recall them mentioning that she was a doctor early on when they showed her. I could be messed up on that. My bad. But other than that, the major conflict, I guess, is continuing to build. Again, this is 2 episodes in a row where we don't see any more of Mira and Yannick and the meeting that she requested with management so that they could pull off, I guess, what will probably be the final episode's major, conflict with the terrorist act that Indigo is plotting. We spent a lot of time with Claire going back. She's battling with whether or not to, think freely and make her own decisions and try to make a life with Quell now that he's left the office of interchange. And she revisits a lot of her past and the programming that she was subjected to be a key part of Indigo. So that's kind of what Claire's going through the entire episode. Quell is trying to be as optimistic as possible as far as resuming some kind of life with his family now that he's left the OI, and who knows what they're really trying to do. But he's basically trying to convince Claire, we have our daughter, Spencer, named after Claire's, teenage boyfriend or whatever, who's now the main guy behind the upcoming terrorist threat against the real world. So, other than that, like I said, again, a little disappointed with the pacing that this is 2 episodes in a row where nothing more has happened with Mira and Yannick. Where have they been hiding? How have they been staying low? Why is it taking so long to get this face-to-face hooked up? But it's coming. Uh, this last episode. And then in from the cold, you spent like 10 minutes waiting for as things kind of get rekindled between uh, Emily and Howard Prime, who is, obviously he knows more than what he's letting on. Emily's piecing things together still, which is kind of taking up way more time than I would have liked. But all the while they're working on figuring out what this code was and trying to piece together what Emily has been working on before she lost her memory. Howard Prime is kind of slowly, he's working her basically. And then, the one thing that they haven't done too much on is how is Howard Prime and Emily being being man and wife, or husband and wife. And so Emily, all of this is kind of too much for her. She offers or shares her desire that Howard be in the room with her tonight. And it was kind of like they were being delicate about how they would handle this, because Howard Prime is obviously from the other world. And so he does enough. They rekindle things. She, based on the fact that Howard helps her figure out this code. I'm not even sure if the code really was clarified anything and what was going on. But anyway, they go to bed together that night, share the bedroom. We don't know if they get down and whatnot, but Howard Prime gets a call in the middle of the night from Baldwin, who alerts him to the fact that Indigo is coming to take Emily out. And all while they were working on that's what I was saying. All while they were working on breaking that code, they kept teasing you like Howard was gonna say, I'm not your Howard. I'm from the other world. But he didn't. He stays in character because he's a killer like that. So then Baldwin contacts him on his cell phone and alerts him to the fact that an attack is imminent. He takes out the two guys that they come to assassinate or terminate Emily, and Emily comes out and catches him taking care of these guys with his bare hands, and she realizes, what she was somewhat suspicious of, I suspect, and she tells him to get out of her house. So like everything in Counterpart really kind of needs to come together in this next episode. Although there might be one more left. But this episode had an 8.8. Like I said, it's still pretty good TV for those of us that are still here. I mean, obviously we want to see where this season is going, and the show overall is pretty good. But it's just like I said, it's kind of taking a bit of a step backwards for me this year. Just personally. So let's move on to True Detective. I couldn't even give you any reviews or any updates through the first 2 or 3 episodes. Obviously, they did the premiere night with 2 shows, I believe. But between the lack of action, between the anger and all the personal demons of Mahershala Ali, his character Wayne Hayes, and his memory issues and everything, and how the show is rolled out, it's really tough to say anything through the first 2 or 3 episodes. We did get a little bit the last 2 weeks with this past week was entitled If You Have Ghosts, and then the week before that was The Hour and the Day, episode 4. So episode 5, well, between those, episode 4 was when Woodard, the Native American guy who the kind of the scavenger or whatever, war veteran, Vietnam War veteran. They ended that episode with him setting up himself in his house as the men in the neighborhood were coming to torture him or beat him up again or whatever, and he kind of isolated himself in his house, set some booby traps, and got ready for war. Like he wasn't taking any more beatings. So the show picked up a little bit. I think they teased us a little bit, bringing the Catholic Church into it, and us thinking that the father, they kind of passed us over to the father a little bit as a major person of interest. That was an easy one, to get us pointing the finger at him. And he was a little weird acting anyway, so you might have flirted with thinking that it was him for a minute. But then coming into this week with If You Have Ghosts, the write-up on that one, the episode info on Rotten Tomatoes, was Wayne finds himself in a no-win situation as new clues emerge in the Purcell case. Roland wrestles with how to keep evidence secure as lawyers demand a new investigation. Amelia finds her relationship with Wayne imperiled by her writing aspirations and his jealousy. And that's kind of been the turnoff for me with this show, has just been the fact that Wayne is so angry, paired with the fact that he has memory issues. It's really been difficult to watch that character. And then he's lashing out at his wife, who is, who married the man and had 2 kids with him, and he's he's got issues with her. So and that whole troubled police officer, troubled detective, it's just kind of a cliche kind of character at this point anyway. The one thing though, like I said, the action picked up with the situation with the guys in the town trying to go after Woodard. You definitely want to tune in and see how that played out at the beginning of If You Have Ghosts. And we learned that Wayne Hayes takes out Woodard in a one-on-one situation where Hayes goes into his house after the front door, the explosion with the mortar and whatnot. And so Hayes is exceptional at his job. And, part of that is from his Vietnam training in that particular role that he had as a scout or a tracker of some kind. So, he's very good at his job. They just keep teasing us of what they did. And another thing, trying to follow these 3 storylines is just exhausting, to be honest with you. I know, we have as collectively we have horrible attention spans, and here with the jumping back and forth, and as they get into some of the special effects with the ghosts that are haunting him and how they transition between the 3 storylines, basically all you can really pay attention to decipher or determine what year you're in, what decade you're in, is by watching Mahershala Ali's hair. It's kind of how I'm picking up on what's what. Star of the show. I know they liked Ali, and Ali was supposed to play, Mahershala was supposed to play the character that Stephen Dorff is playing in Roland. But Stephen Dorff is doing his thing. I mean, he is flat out excelling in the role of Roland. And the odd thing is that Mahershala convinced the showrunners for him to be the main character for various reasons, and I don't know what they changed up once they decided to make him the lead in this, but if he would have just been Roland and he would have been made the guy who was in charge of the investigation in the 90s, that would have been interesting if you're looking at it from, an African-American man in Arkansas or whatever, being in charge of this investigative unit. I don't know. It's just kind of odd that he lobbied to be the lead character when he could have done as much shining as what Stephen Dorff is doing with Roland by just being Roland. But I guess he wanted to really tap into everything that was haunting and confusing and creating so much strife in Haynes' life. So it is what it is. And then the other thing is that, the big reveal for this one is that we hear from an older, what's her name, man? Jennifer? That's the daughter that was taken. I keep wanting to say Lucy for some reason. Julie. I think it's Julie or Judy. I'm looking bad out here. But they haven't shown either one of them as adults yet. You know, Will is dead. They've been looking for the daughter for all these years. They found some fingerprints that let them know that she's still alive. And then this week, after Scoop McNairy, Tom Purcell went on TV and asked for her to return or for her to be returned. At the end of the show or near the end of this episode, they bring Purcell in and let him hear this tape of a young lady who is supposed to be Julie, his daughter. And she says that Purcell is not her father. So the case kind of takes a major spin here because we don't know what the hell is going on now. So that's kind of where it is. It's picking up a little bit. I don't really have a rating for this one per se. I'm just kind of tuning in each week. It's been crawling along. Like I said, not a lot of action through the first 3 episodes. Did pick up in 4 and 5. It's doing really well on Rotten Tomatoes. Holding, at least this last episode was at 91%. Pretty good turn by Mahershala Ali. I guess with us spending so much time with him and the focus being on him, you know, for him to be struggling to express himself and how closed up he is emotionally, you know, like I said, we've seen this before. I hate when the lead character is somebody who can't freaking talk, who can't really express what all of their anger is about. You know, that I'm really getting tired of that type of character. And I saw out there where there's the Amelia theory about her being the killer. I saw some stuff on Reddit that kind of debunks that. Even I think Nick Pizzolatto, is that how you say his last name? Nick, damn, I had it opened up somewhere. Yeah, Pizzolatto. Nick Pizzolatto. I guess he went on his Instagram account or something and responded to a viewer and said that there was supposedly Amelia said how Will was left posed, in a resting position. She mentioned that, and some viewers thought that that Wayne hadn't shared that information with her. So they thought it was a slip up, that she let it be known that she knew details about the crime scene, that she would have had to be the killer, to know it. But Pizzolatto came on Instagram or something and said that don't read into that. She's basically not the killer. But that's another mystery that's out there, is how did she pass away and why is she gone? Then the second mystery is what the hell did Wayne and Roland do that they're so that's haunting them into their 70s. The scene at the end of If You Have Ghosts, the reunion between Wayne and Roland was just phenomenal. Phenomenal acting is one of the highlights or high points of the show. But again, Stephen Dorff is killing it. I got another thought that I wanted to get out there, but I've already went too long on this. I might make that into a second video. It's kind of a second, a peripheral story, if you will, that just stood out to me. I may or may not talk about it. But hey, look, I'm going to get on out of here. I'm already, 10 minutes apiece on breaking down each show between True Detective and Counterpart's not that bad. So, again, if you want to discuss this more down in the comment section, let's do it. If not, it is what it is. If you didn't make it this far, that's cool. I just want to finish out what I started with, talking about some of these different series. We'll see what happens tomorrow night. And on both of these, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button. Or like I said, if you know something that I don't know, especially with that thing with the daughter on Counterpart, I might have messed that up. That just didn't look like the same girl to me, but maybe it was. I definitely don't remember them referring to her as a doctor or in the medical field when they introduced her earlier in the show, but I could be wrong. But say I'm rocking with both of them. It's a good time for them to be on with the NFL concluding, and then there's not a lot of great shows out that would overshadow these two, especially with the actors attached to True Detective, and then coming off of season 1 of Counterpart. So it's a good time for them to be on. And that's pretty much it. Again, my name is Wood. Thanks for tuning in to another PMNM TV Talk. I'm out. Peace.